Donald had always found peace in the scalpel. For 3 years, he lived as Dr. Donald Hayes, nothing more. No bodyguards, no family fortune, no underworld empire shadowing his steps. The test was his father's decree: survive as a common man, prove you deserve to rule the shadows. He chose medicine because saving lives felt like rebellion against the blood he was born into. He met Anya in the hospital corridors. She was brilliant, fierce, with eyes that seemed to see through his quiet demeanor. They married quietly. For 2 years, it was enough. Late nights stitching wounds together, her head on his shoulder after exhausting shifts, whispered promises that this simple life was all they needed. Donald believed it. He loved the man he had become, the one who mended instead of broke. Then George arrived. Dr. George Harlan, son of the hospital dean. Charismatic, sharp-featured, with an easy laugh that filled the break room. At first, Anya rolled her eyes at his arrogance. "Rich boy playing doctor," she'd mutter, kissing Donald's cheek. But George was persistent. Compliments on her diagnoses. Shared coffees during night shifts. Small favors that made her smile in ways Donald hadn't seen in months. Donald noticed the changes slowly. Anya came home later. Her phone stayed face down. She flinched when he touched her shoulder. He told himself it was stress. Hospital politics. The weight of their double shifts. One rainy evening, everything shattered. Donald had stayed late to monitor a critical patient, a young woman recovering from a complicated surgery he had performed. He needed to check her charts one last time. As he approached the on-call room, he heard it, soft laughter, then a moan muffled against skin. The door was ajar. Anya sat on George's lap, her blouse unbuttoned, his hands roaming her back as they kissed deeply. Her fingers tangled in his hair. George whispered something filthy. She giggled, grinding against him. Donald stood frozen, the world narrowing to the sound of his wife's pleasure in another man's arms. No explosion of rage, just a cold, hollow ache. He pushed the door open fully. They sprang apart. Anya's face twisted from ecstasy to horror. "Donald." George smirked, adjusting his shirt. "Well. This is awkward." Before Donald could speak, George moved. A sharp punch to the gut, then another to the knee. Donald crumpled. Security, conveniently nearby, burst in. George shouted first. "He attacked me. And look, he's been tampering with Mrs. Rao's meds. I saw him swap vials earlier." The patient, Mrs. Rao, an elderly woman under Donald's care, suddenly worsened that night. Charts were altered. Witnesses, paid or pressured, came forward. Donald, the quiet savior, became the villain overnight. His career burned in hours. License suspended. Colleagues turned away. Anya filed complaints, painting him as abusive and unstable. They left him bleeding on the floor of the on-call room, leg twisted, pain shooting through bone. As he dragged himself out into the rain, he called Anya. She picked up. Or rather, George did. Breathing heavy. Wet sounds of kissing. Anya's unmistakable moan, low and needy. "George, harder." The phone clattered, but not before Donald hit record. Every gasp, every slap of skin, every filthy word. He saved it, then vomited into the gutter. Divorce papers followed. Donald signed without fight. He took nothing, no savings, no claims on the apartment they shared. Just the limp in his left leg as a permanent souvenir. He walked out of the lawyer's office 3 years to the day his test began, a broken man with nothing but rage simmering beneath the surface. Outside, under gray skies, George and Anya waited to twist the knife. George's arm was around her waist. She looked radiant in a new dress he'd bought her. "Finally free, huh?" George laughed. "Guess the test is over for you, loser." Enjoy the streets." Anya smirked, though her eyes flickered with something like guilt. "You were never enough, Donald. George actually makes me feel alive." Donald stopped. The helicopter's rotors thumped in the distance, growing louder. Black, sleek, unmarked. It descended onto the open lot beside the office building like judgment from the heavens. He turned to them, and for the first time in months, he smiled. It wasn't warm. It was the smile of something ancient and cruel waking up. "Get your freedom," he said, voice low, demonic in its calm. "Live today. It is the last one you get to be happy. Best of luck." He tossed the signed divorce papers into a nearby trash bin. They fluttered like dead leaves. Before George or Anya could process the words, Donald limped toward the helicopter. Men in dark suits emerged, helping him aboard. The rotors roared, lifting him away. Anya screamed his name. George stood pale. The chopper vanished into the clouds. Faced with tears of joy. The family estate loomed like a fortress carved from night itself, its obsidian spires piercing the stormy sky as if daring the heavens to strike. Ancient gargoyles leered from the rooftops, rain sluicing off their fangs like tears of the damned. Inside the grand hall, shadows danced across walls lined with portraits of ruthless ancestors, their painted eyes seeming to judge the living. Donald's father, Victor, waited at the center, his massive frame rigid, jaw tight with barely contained fury. The air smelled of aged whiskey, polished marble, and old blood. He had watched everything through discreet channels, the beatings, the betrayal, the mocking laughter outside the lawyer's office. Couldn't intervene because of the test's sacred rules. Now, as his only son limped into the hall, Victor's eyes narrowed at the visible hitch in Donald's step, the hollowed cheeks, the extinguished light in what were once compassionate eyes. "You let them break you," Victor growled, voice echoing like thunder in a crypt. "My heir, reduced to crawling in the rain while that slut warmed another man's lap." Donald stopped beneath the central chandelier, its crystals throwing fractured light across his face. The gentle doctor was dead. What remained was something primordial, eyes burning with infernal cold, a smile curling his lips that promised suffering without end. He tilted his head, the demonic nature surfacing fully for the first time. "Break me?" Donald's voice was velvet over shattered glass. "They awakened me, Father. The test didn't just end. It forged a demon." He flexed his fingers, imagining them closing around throats that still drew breath. "And demons don't forgive." Victor studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly, a flicker of dark pride breaking through his rage. "Then make them wish they had never been born." The fall of the hospital. Donald began with the institution that had witnessed his ruin. The once prestigious hospital became his first canvas of destruction. Within weeks, anonymous tips triggered federal audits. George's father, the dean, was exposed for systemic fraud, patient records altered, experimental drugs pushed for kickbacks, surgeries botched under pressure to meet quotas. Donald's men planted evidence linking it all to George's arrogance. Wards emptied as patients fled in panic. Funding dried up overnight. Doctors resigned en masse, whispering of curses. The gleaming building, once a beacon of healing, turned into a hollow shell, windows boarded, halls echoing with the ghosts of the betrayed. Donald visited the ruins personally one midnight, limping through the abandoned on-call room where it had all happened. He stood on the exact spot where he had bled, pressing his palm to the cold floor. "Everything you built on my pain," he whispered to the darkness, "now rots." George Harlan's life became a personalized inferno, meticulously crafted. At first, the golden boy tried to fight. But money vanished from accounts like smoke. Lawsuits piled up from former patients whose lives Donald's network had quietly ruined further, complications exaggerated, families weaponized. George's hands, once steady in the operating theater, were shattered in a brutal mugging that left bones splintered beyond perfect repair. He could never hold a scalpel again. His true nature clawed its way into the light. Donald ensured Anya saw it all. Through hidden cameras and orchestrated encounters, she witnessed George's descent, the cowardice, the selfishness, the way he threw her under the bus in recorded calls, begging investigators to blame that desperate whore for everything. He sold her out repeatedly, revealing intimate details of their affair to save his own skin, how she had initiated the first kiss, how she had laughed about Donald's boring loyalty while sitting on his lap, moaning like an animal in heat. George's days became endless cycles of paranoia. He woke to dead rats nailed to his door. Delivery boxes arrived containing pieces of his old life, shredded medical licenses, photos of him and Anya mid-embrace with Donald's bloodied face photoshopped into the background. Nights were worse. He heard phantom moans on loop from hidden speakers, Anya's voice twisted with Donald's recording, "George, harder." Reduced to begging on street corners near the ruined hospital, George's once charming face was gaunt, eyes darting like a hunted animal. He screamed at shadows, cursing the day he touched Anya. Donald watched every breakdown via live feeds, his demonic smile widening. No quick death. Just eternal, grinding torment. George lived, but every breath was hell. Anya's punishment cut deepest, for she had betrayed the heart. Donald kept her alive and aware. She was relocated to a sparse apartment in the slums, monitored 24/7. Her beauty, once radiant, withered under constant fear, hair thinning, skin sallow, eyes ringed with sleepless despair. No one would hire her. Old colleagues crossed the street to avoid her. Lovers fled after receiving gifts of the full unedited recording. The climax came on a rain-lashed night, exactly 1 year after the helicopter departure. Donald's men brought her to the family estate's basement chamber, a cold, stone room lit by flickering torches that cast demonic shadows across Donald's face as he sat on a throne-like chair, leg propped on a stool. Anya collapsed at his feet, a pitiful wreck. She clutched his shoes, sobbing uncontrollably, her body trembling like a leaf in a storm. "Donald, my love. I was blind. George showed me attention when I felt invisible. The shifts, the pressure, it consumed me. But I see now. He was a monster. He never loved me. He used me and discarded me the moment trouble came." Her voice broke into hysterical wails. "I hear my own moans every night. I see myself on his lap, kissing him while you bled for us. I destroyed the only good man I ever had. Please, kill me. Beat me. Anything but this emptiness." Donald leaned forward, his hand, once used to save lives, now resting lightly on her head like a king blessing a condemned subject. His eyes glowed with cruel serenity, the demon fully in control. "Regret looks beautiful on you, Anya," he murmured, voice dripping with mocking tenderness. "You laughed at me that day outside the office. Called me nothing. Now look at you, begging at the feet of the devil you created." He played a snippet of the recording from his phone. Her breathy moans filled the chamber, intertwining with George's grunts. Anya retched, covering her ears. "I gave you everything," Donald continued, rising slowly, his limp adding to the predatory menace. "A simple life. Loyalty. Love. You chose his lap. His lies. So now you live with the truth, George's true nature exposed, the hospital you both prized reduced to rubble, and your soul rotting from the inside. I could end you, but death is too kind for traitors." She screamed, clawing at his legs, promising eternal devotion, cursing the day she met George. Tears mixed with snot as she groveled, a once proud doctor reduced to a broken shell. Donald's men dragged her away still begging, her pitiful cries echoing long after she was gone. She would live on, haunted, isolated, forced to read daily reports of George's further degradation. Every mirror showed a woman who had murdered her own happiness. Her regret was a living wound, festering without end. Donald returned to the grand hall, where Victor waited with a glass of the finest vintage. The empire is yours, son. Donald raised the glass, that demonic smile carving deep into his features. The limp remained, a trophy of survival. To the test that ended, and the eternity of suffering I've only just begun. Outside, thunder roared approval. The demon heir had fully awakened, and the world would bleed for the pain of one broken doctor.
Please subscribe!